In this video, I'm going to show you how to turn off the electric fire pump. This is a Hubbell Industrial Controls Inc. fire pump. There's the electric fire pump controller. See top to bottom. This one works with these levers on the right. We have the first, second, and the third. We don't touch that one. We're not worried about that one, but it has first, second, third. You have your instructions here for the electric fire pump controller. For the isolating switch, it says, do not open or close switch while the circuit breaker disconnecting means is in the closed position. And right here we have the circuit breaker disconnecting means. So what it wants us to do is not operate this. We're going to operate this first. So we don't want to turn this off first. We want to turn this off first. Oh, sorry, I got that reversed. Sorry, turn this off first. Turn this off second. We don't want to operate this while this is active. So when it's saying a closed circuit, it means the circuit's active. And an open circuit means we're going to open the circuit, so there's going to be no electricity flowing. And what we're going to do is going to shut off this pump, which I apologize for the bad lighting. I'm in a garage, but this is the pump plate here. It's a F.L.S pump. I don't know if you can even read anything on the pump plate. I don't know if it's even worth trying. But anyway, it's a electric pump. Looks like a vertical electric pump. So we're going to be turning this one off. This red one here, turn it off. And this little black one in the corner, that's the jockey pump. That's the one we're going to be running all our water from. So here's a look at the jockey pump. So this is going to be what we're doing all our flow testing on. And over here we have the jockey pump controller. So it's also a Hubbell. We have our jockey pump fire controller plate here. Again, apologies for the lighting. I'm in a garage. It's the best I can do. We have our main switch here, so it's in the on position. See that ON, on. It's not on off. Then we have our dial here set to auto. So it's automatically gonna turn on when the pressure gets low. So we're going to come over to our pump, get our gauge reading first. So looks like we're a little bit above 150, maybe we're at like 160. Give it a little love tap, make sure it's good. Okay, so we're at 160. So we need to make sure that before we turn this pump back on, that the pressure is back up where it needs to be. Otherwise, the fire pump here will turn on, which is what we don't want. Like I said, we're just gonna run everything off the little jockey pump right here. So this guy will be on, and this one will be off. The reason why we turn it off is because for this particular client, they only have an alarm contract with us. They don't have a sprinkler contract. So we're not taking liability for their pump, so we're gonna turn the pump off. Their sprinkler company is responsible for testing the fire pump. So all I'm gonna do is be testing the switches and valves, making sure that the electronics work and report to the fire panel. And once I've done that, I'll turn the pump back on. If they had our sprinkler company for this contract, then we would just have a pump tech in here operating the pump for me. But since I don't have that, I have to do it all myself. So what I often like to do is just write the little notes of the order. So on the bottom here, off one, that means we're gonna turn this one off first. Then off two, we're gonna turn this one off second. And then we're gonna do all the flow testing, all right? And after we do our flow testing, we're gonna come back down here. We're gonna make sure the pump is back at 150. There we go. We're gonna make sure it's back, or 160. And then once it's back on, that means that this little jockey pump is no longer on. It means it's already filled the system. And this one's not on because the power's off. Once that's good, then we'll turn these switches or levers back on. And instead of doing this one on first because we turned it off first, we're actually gonna turn this one on first. So this is the isolating switch. So we're gonna turn the isolating switch on first, and then the circuit breaker on second. So you see on two. So when you turn it off, you turn off the circuit breaker first, because you're opening the system. You're opening the loop, so there's no power running through it. Closed means, again, electricity is running through it, so it's on. So we're opening it by closing or turning down the lever, pushing it down. And then we're turning off the isolating switch after. We're going to push that one down. And then again, when we come back, we're going to do the reverse. We're going to do on this one first and on this one second. It sounds confusing. This took me a while to kind of understand. Like, it's basic, but it's also just like intimidating because, like I said, these pumps can overpressurize the system. They can cause damage. This pump could have issues if it runs too long. The pack can get messed up, bearings. You know, it could, if water is leaking everywhere, you know, this controller can burn out. We could pop a sprinkler head. You know, a bunch of things could happen. So we're going to bypass all that by just turning off the pump and running everything off the little jockey pump. So I give these longer intros on these ones because I just want people to understand why I'm doing this. I don't want people to think I just turn off pumps for fun. I just do this because it's liability. They don't have a contract with our company for the sprinkler or to do any pump testing. They just have it for alarm testing, so we're only going to focus on the alarm system. We're going to bypass the pump. So, again, off 2, off 1. So, circuit breaker off first, isolating switch off second. So I'm going to stand off to the side, but I'm going to turn my camera like this so you can see me do it. That way I don't have an arc flash shoot or anything, so at least if I'm off to the side, if anything happens, hopefully I won't get blasted with electricity. So we're going to go off 1. And then the top lever, we're going to go off 2. Okay, so now our pump is off, which means this guy will not turn on, and this little guy over here will still on, because over here on the controller, it's still on. So we're going to be flowing everything off this guy. So now, let's say we go through our system testing already, we flowed the water, we got our signal at the panel, the jockey pump ran, it filled the pressure back up, and then we're back up to our PSI here, right? We're back up to where we need to be. Then, we're going to turn this pump back on, right? But remember, we're going to go the reverse order of these levers. So we did off first for the circuit breaker and off second for the isolating switch. Now we're going to go on first for the isolating switch and on second for the circuit breaker. Because again, you're not supposed to operate this isolating switch with the circuit breaker closed, meaning the lever's up, which means electricity is running through the system. We want to disconnect it, so we want the circuit to be open so there's no electricity running through it. And then we operate the switch. So since it's already open, meaning it's in the off position, it's in the down position, I can now turn on the isolating switch. So again, I'm going to come over, I'm going to stand to the side of the pump, protect myself from any arc flash, and I'm going to turn on the isolating switch first. And then I'm going to come down to the circuit breaker. And I'm going to turn on the circuit breaker now. This one's a little stiff. There we go. So now the pump is going to be back on. And I believe I'm supposed to get a little light right here. There it is. So now my pump's back on. So again, always follow your instructions when you're operating a controller. And for this controller, again, I always like to write, you don't have to do this, but I always like to write the order just to keep it simple. Because a lot of times, like I said, you won't have a sprinkler technician with you, or your company doesn't have one, or the client doesn't want the contract with the sprinkler company that you have. And you're like an alarm tech like me, and you got to test out all the electronics, including the riser system, to get the switches and tampers to activate. So you're going to need to turn this off to make sure you have no issues with this pump and that this big guy doesn't turn on. Everything's supposed to run off the little guy. If you have your sprinkler company here and that means your client has a contract with them, then you can go through all this with the pump on. This guy will run, the sprinkler team will do all their testing, and everything will be fine, right? But in my case, I have to bypass this so I don't have any issues. So it's a very long-winded way of going through this video, but I hope you appreciate. I'm trying to just go step by step as best I can. And for the jockey, like I said, it's always on. Always going to be on. So on position, there you go. Not off, it's on the on position, and it's set to auto. So we don't even touch the jockey pump controller. Everything, we're just turning off and on the pump. So that is how you bypass the Hubbell Industrial Controls Inc. electric fire pump controller. All right, so we're at the ITV. We're going to be flowing our water. It's going to come out our little spout here and just flood this area up here on the roof. And we have our timer. So let's go ahead and open our valve. Look at that beautiful water. We start our timer. And while we wait, we're just gonna get a nice little view on the roof line. It's a beautiful day. Beautiful day. Beautiful day. Very nice. Perk of the job, right? Perk of the job. All right, back to business. So, about 30 seconds. And we're gonna run it to full 90 just because I'm solo on this job. So I don't have a technician at the panel. So I'll run it for my 90, make sure it came in. I could verify on monitoring the time afterwards. And then we will go back to the panel, verify. We got our signal, verify that the jockey pump and everything's running. Beautiful day. Just about 60 seconds. Sometimes I get a good view at work, you know? Sometimes I get a good view. I like this. I'm liking this. Glad I got this job today. All right, 15 more seconds. It's also good to really flow this out too because it's on the roof, so it's coming from the bottom all the way to the roof, so we're cleaning out all that dirty water that's just been sitting in the pipes. All right, that's 90 seconds. Go ahead and close her up. All right, and now I will head back down and check our signals. One last look. One last look. So nice. So nice. All right. All right, so we have our jockey pump on. Little guy right here. You can see whenever the pressure drops, it's gonna kick on. There you go. It's just maintaining the flow right now. Jockey pump controller's still on. Again, sorry for the lighting. So it's on the on position and it's set to the auto. So it just keeps bumping up the pressure for us while we're doing our flow testing. Get a close-up of the gauge. So as you see the pressure dropping below that 150, it's gonna kick on. And just like that. All right, and it'll drop back down. Again, this is just the jockey pump maintaining pressure as the water's flowing. All right, now we'll finish our flow test. And of course, I had to come back up to the roof one more time because it's such a beautiful day. Such a beautiful day. You know, it's like a job perk. You know, you don't always get a nice view at all your job sites. You definitely don't get to go to the tallest building in the area and get to look down on everybody, which is always fun for me. But this is, it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. I always take a little bit of time out of my day. If I got a good view, I'm gonna enjoy it. You know, I gotta drive around all over the place, do all these inspections, you know. Sometimes I come across a nice building, right? I get to enjoy it. It might be a different kind of building. It's not always the boring cookie cutter commercial real estate kind of properties. Sometimes it's an interesting building. But if you have that time in your day, take a few minutes, just take it in, you know, enjoy it. All right, it's a beautiful day. Beautiful day. I would love to have this view more often, you know? So nice. So nice. Well, that'll be it for this video. Alright, got a little bonus footage for y'all. You thought it was the end, it's not. Look at this electrical room. There's electrical rooms on each floor of this 12-story building. That's where all the booster panels are at. Alright, so that's the booster panel I get to, open it up, you know, check the batteries, check my wiring, make sure everything's good, the voltages, blah, 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 alright? But look at this shit, look down. That's the floor beneath me, and those are all the floors beneath that. Can you see all the lights? Every light you see is another floor. Alright? I'm gonna risk my life standing out on this thing right now. Look at that. See all them lights down there? See all them lights down there? This shit goes straight down. There's this grating on each floor, but still. This is sketchy as fuck. Dude, call OSHA. Okay, call OSHA on this shit. Put some boards down. I gotta get to each one of these things, and they're practically on all the floors. Look at this shit. Man, I thought the roof was all nice, but damn, fuck these electrical rooms. For real. Alright, that was just crazy. I had to show y'all.